What's up, guys? We are officially entering build 1 of the Axial Exo Terror Buggy. I have some Mountain Dew here. What I've done first here is I've gone ahead, assembled both differentials, and of course with these ones we're using Axial 10,000 weight, or 10,000 CST, excuse me. I've already gone through and used everything out of parts bag A. I've assembled the front and rear with the pinions in them. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to go to step 3 here, which is open bag B. I already did that. We're going to take one of our housings here. We're going to not drop it on the table. That's a bad thing to do. We're going to slap that sucker down in there. It's nice and free rotating. And it calls for the standard axial green grease, which I'm not a big fan of. Even though this truck is never going to see any water, I'm still going to give it my usual marine grease treatment to the ring and pinion gear, just for the fact that this grease right here, far superior. So I'm just going to slab the ring gear here. Give it a little rotation here to get some grease circulating on that sucker. Make sure it gets down on that pinion. I really want the grease down on the pinion. So we're going to have to dig a little deeper in this tube. I mean, for the price that you pay for this stuff at Walmart, it's just kind of a no-brainer to use the marine axle and general purpose marine grease. It's boat, trailer, and marine equipment marine grease. Really? They have to say marine twice in one thing? Alrighty then. Alright, so now you can see down in there, hopefully you can see, way down there in the bottom, the pinion's got grease in it. Oh look, here's a bottom shot. Pinion has grease. The ring is greased nicely. So we're going to take our first one here and we're going to use part AX 891-2, which is this piece right here. We're going to slide it onto the carrier, which still leaves us with an open hole in the bottom for now, but that's fine because we're just assembling the diff halves here. And now you can see it's a limited slip differential, which is good, because if it was under the insane amount of torque that it was originally designed for. And we're going to use 2 of these AX 466 screws to secure the bottom in. Actually, we're going to go up here to mid here. Do 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 do. That's the wrong size driver. That one's too big. Really? Do I not have the in-between ones tucked? Oh, there she is. She was hiding. Use our bit driver here, which these ones I use. I got them pretty cheap. They're Bondus brand. Never heard of it before, but they seem to do the job. So get that in nice and snug. Dig through our little pile here, find another one of the AX 466 AXAs now, excuse me. Wow, they're changing everything around now. AXA 466. Get these upper recessed differential housing screws in. Okay, they're nice and snugged. We now have 2 complete halves to a differential. Now I'm just going to show you guys the front one. I'm not going to do both of them at the same time, just due to the fact that I don't want to drag out into like an 8 million minute video. Now, I've left a step out from the previous one, which I'm going to do now, which is to actually take and install the actual outputs on here, which you use your grub screw. And as always, you use the axial thread locker. Now, never ever get the thread locker on the thread of the screw, because that's just going to make it a big pain in the butt to get out. And all it is a simple matter of dropping the screw down in and then basically tightening down your set screw. Once you flip it around to the right end, ha 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 ha. That's what she said. Which, as an odd coincidence, I am wearing that shirt today. The That's What She Said shirt. So there's that one together. I'm going to go ahead right now and do the other one just out of convenience so I don't forget it later on and be like, oh, why do I have parts left over? Which, if you ever end up with a lot of spare parts in an axial kit, you might want to go back through and check and make sure you did all the steps, because usually Axial is pretty good about not leaving spare bolts laying around. I mean, I know with like a Tamiya kit, you've always got plenty of spare parts. But Axial is usually pretty darn good about that. I'm happy with those. So now we move on to the next step, which is we're going to take this piece here, which is AXA 897, 2. Of course, everything's a 2. This is going to mount up here on top of where we just put in those other 2 bolts. Now you've really got to pay attention to make sure you note which way that these flares stick out, and the direction it's showing is your outdrive for the rear, or for the front. It sits in front of it, so that goes on there, followed by this part right here, which is AX 893 2. It's basically just a little dog bone, and it's pretty much universal. You can flip it either way. It's not going to matter, because that goes on as a cap. And then you use 4 AXA 467 screws, which are these longer ones. So you feed that through. As a general rule of thumb, I always get one started. And for future use, when doing this build, I'm going to be using my bit drivers, because it's a lot faster. Come on, girl. Get in there. There we go. Get that one in there tight. I always do one up top and one on the bottom. That way you've got one in each corner securely locked, so when you put the last 2 in there, it's a lot easier. And then we just simply go here and get the last 2 of these screws in. There's 3. And 4. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There is a fully assembled front differential for the Axial Exo Terror Buggy. Now, this is the first step, and obviously I'm not going to do a complete thorough build where I'm showing you every single step of the process, because that would literally be probably about a 500 part video, seeing how there are a ton of steps. And of course, you also have the revision here for steps 6 and 11 revised, and you use the part supplemental bag. But I will tell you, I've already gone ahead. The first thing I always do is I always put the tires and rims together, just to see what they look like. Look pretty good so far. Alright guys, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. Got a completed differential. I'm going to move on. Actually, for the next step, it says to go to start building the suspension off of it. So that'll be in the next video, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to clip this one right at 10. We'll see you guys in the next video. Alright guys, here you go. Here is the front end assembled with the revision done. We've got our dog bones in. We have our steering knuckles attached. Of course, the steering knuckle, your linkage does go behind the front axle, which is common sense for this type of vehicle. We have our lower A-arms connected, which is all there is really, just lower A-arms. We've got, of course, the F1 bracket with the new revision bolts. Like I pointed out before, instead of having the silver non-threaded bolts, we have threaded bolt ends that comes through. We've got our tie rods done to the basic setup, 40mm spread. That is all done. The bulkhead has been bolted down, and we're going to move on to the rear. And once I get that one done, it's pretty much the same process. I'm going to have to pack that with grease, screw the back cap on, and get the little bracket. And then once we get to step 11, I'm going to have to go back to the revision page again. So I'm going to keep plugging away here again. And there's also another revision up here too, as you can see right here. Here's another step 16 revision. A step 16 revision versus a step 11. So there's 6, 11, and 16 revisions. So there you guys go. Gonna start doing the rear now. There's our front bulkhead done.